Hey Jennifer, how you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain. How's your day been so far?
Uh, so far so good. I mean, the day hasn't ended yet, but see how it goes.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so let the viewers know who you are and what you do, Jennifer.
Oh, hi guys. I'm Jennifer Titi Tibabia, but I prefer you calling me Titi. I'm actually a customer service representative at the moment, but at the same time, I do some voluntary works. That is, if there's any sort of voluntary works to help people with needs and stuff like that, I do get myself involved. It's not really a profession at the moment, but let's just say I just get myself involved in stuff like that.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Titi. So, like today's topic is about polygyny in relationships as opposed to monogamy in relationships, and which one benefits our families more in Africa in terms of building generational wealth and things like that. So, I want to start by asking you a question, Titi. Like, in your opinion, what is the purpose of relationships themselves? What is the purpose of relationships?
Well, hmm. Let's go way back in the days, right? Like let's say back in the olden days. Relationships were mostly built or were meant for building bonds and alliance and so some sort of like togetherness, right? But with today's generation, I wouldn't really say it's the exact same thing. It's a whole different kind of level, different kind of thing. It depends on each individual what a relationship actually means to them at this point. But if we go back in the olden days, it was built or it was there for us to create bonds, togetherness, and alliance. But with now, I would say that it depends on each individual what relationship actually means or what it is for them. So I can't really speak for everyone.
Okay, okay. So you say back in the day it was about building bonds. Can you elaborate on what you mean by bonds? What kind of bonds was it about building?
Okay, let's say bonds. Like, back in the days, there were a lot of, let's say, dispute, disagreement, fights, and a whole lot of stuffs like that, right? But when it got to a point where people felt like, why don't we just try to bring each other together? Let's come together to, understand each other and just create peace. That
Okay,
was when the whole idea came up. So it could be like in those times, let's say in Ghana per se, those times in the ethnic groups aspect, from where they used to fight a lot. They were always fighting over land, like disputing about things. But they started, building relationships or like going from their ethnic groups to other groups, where they started angling themselves with them. Where that is where the bond actually comes from.
okay. So what you're saying is it was to settle disputes through marriage, by bringing people together that will settle certain family disputes. Is that what you're saying? Oh, it seems
Yeah.
like you've frozen a little bit. Just wait a second. Did you hear what I said?
I heard everything you said,
Okay, excellent,
and
excellent.
that is exactly what I meant. Thank you.
Okay, no problem, no problem. All right, so moving on, when we look at like polygamy and monogamy, what would you say the benefits are of monogamy over polygamy?
Hmm. Once again, polygamy, right, is one thing I would say I was very beneficial or nice once again, because during that time, that was when let's see, there were more lands, more properties, more trade, and a whole lot of stuff that involved labor, right? And those times where it was when we needed a whole lot of people to assist or help. So those times in polygamy, I would say they were really benefiting from these kind of things in terms of economy, because having multiple wives brings you the fact that you can have a lot of children. A lot of wives tends to assist with a lot of labor work, a lot of children to tends to assist with a lot of labor work. So let's say you have about three, four, five wives. It helps with sharing the house chores, right? In terms of maybe harvesting, planting, cleaning, taking care of kids and stuff like that. And you having a lot of children as well actually helped because they were able to assist with the family in terms of labor. They would go to the farm. I mean, those times too, the daddies were, like when the daddies get old, the kids will have to handle it from there. And you having a lot of land, one person wouldn't be the best option. And during those times as well, modernization wasn't really there. So you needed a lot of people. So you having those three or more wives tends to give you more children. So if the daddy gets old, everything keeps being safe because the children will be handling everything from there.
Excellent, excellent. So
So
you,
when we come,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. So when we come to the monogamy side, I would say that one is beneficial as well in terms of not really in labor, but it reduces expenses, right? In terms those times, well, you don't really need lots of land, but at least if you have a piece of land, little as it can be, you're able.
Well, you froze there for a second. Let's give it a second, see if you can come back. A little bit of a network issue. So yeah, she was making some. You're making some valid points. You froze for a second, but you're back now. So you just finished giving your viewpoint on the benefits of polygamy over monogamy, and then you were now speaking about monogamy over polygamy.
Yeah. So, but as I was saying earlier, with that one, it cuts down expenses, right? That is with the monogamy. Having one wife or maybe two children cuts down expenses in the sense that you just have some few people to take care of, right? But even getting those few people to take care of, you don't really have to go the extra mile trying so hard or like forcing yourself to get like a big land, like two, three people. You just needed a very small land. I mean, you wouldn't have a lot of kids. Like it was better then, but it wasn't really the best. Like when we compare it to the olden days, but right now in the modern world, monogamy is way much better than polygamy. That is
Okay.
what I can say for now.
Okay, so one of the points you made was that in monogamy it cuts down expenses. So you're speaking from the perspective that one person is like making all the getting all the resources, taking care of all the resources. So when it comes to like thinking about generational wealth and family business, like the whole family is involved in that when we're talking about generational wealth as a family. So when you say it cuts down expenses, does it not also limit the exposure or the expansion of the family business in terms of building generational wealth? Or what is your viewpoint on that?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You froze for a second, but you're back. Did you hear the question?
Yeah. Can you go over it again? I quite didn't really hear.
Okay, so like
Sorry.
when you're speaking about monogamy, you're saying in monogamy it cuts expenses for the family. So like, but when we're thinking about building a family business or building generational wealth, would you say that more members being involved in the family business is going to be more beneficial than trying to cut expenses by having less people in a nuclear family?
Okay. So with that, I wouldn't say a yes or no.
Okay, so we're still having the little network issues, but I'm sure she'll be back in a moment. All right, so we got cut off for a little bit there, but you're back now. So yes, if you can answer that question, if you remember the question. Yes,
I
continue.
wouldn't say a yes or no to that question, in a sense that both marriages, or let's say both relationships are very good. At the same time, they have the advantages and disadvantages. So at this point, it depends on how it's planned or how it's handled. Let's use having a lot of lands, it helps in terms of making a lot of wealth. But what happens in this situation is you have a lot of wives, you have a lot of children, and you you end up having to share the inheritance, right? So in terms of the inheritance, let's make sure each child or each heir gets a piece of it. And you cutting them down into pieces ends up like, reducing the sizes and the worth of it. I mean, you can't tell me getting a piece of land, I mean, a small piece of land can help you make that much money. I mean, what are you going to harvest or what are you going to plant there? But in that same terms, if this inheritance or this land is shared into pieces and these children or the heirs come together, sit down, make up a plan. Let's say we want to continue keeping the legacy. We want to make sure this land doesn't just spread over anywhere. We want to make benefit from it. Why don't we work together? We will all have a share or to play in this business so that it can become so big in the next generation to come. Because you sharing the lands into pieces is more like you keep sharing, and in the next two, three generations, everything is gone. But if the first generation that actually got the piece of land, sit down and come together and think, let's just keep it as one. Let's have, let's each one of us have a role, work on it, make it bigger, make it better, so we can all benefit.
Right, right. Excellent. Yeah, so it's very true what you say, that there's a lot of family disputes that happen when like they're trying to divide property, divide land and things like that. And when there's a large family, it becomes a problem. But what you mentioned about keeping it together and being able to pass it forward is a great solution. And a way to do that legally is having something like a trust, a family trust, where like all the assets are held inside of a trust, where no one can just take anything they want, but everyone that's contributing it benefits from the profits from that family business, which is one of the strong points of polygamy, where like there's more contribution, where if you've done the same thing in monogamy, there'll be less contribution, less expansion. But having a trust either way is a beneficial way for a family to let the future generations continue to benefit. All right, excellent. So I wanted to ask you as well, like when we look at our biology as a male and female, like does our biology favor polygamy or monogamy, in your opinion?
Monogamy. I'll go with
Monogamy.
monogamy.
Why
Good.
do you say that?
Okay. So let's say, like I said, in terms of monogamy, it's just one husband, one wife. So basically, it's more like the woman has more say, more contribution to make. Whatever she says is taken. I mean, okay, some men in monogamy still stand at the point whereby they feel like they're the man in the family. So what the woman says doesn't matter. But in monogamy is way better than polygamy. In the sense that with polygamy, I would say you have a lot of wives. I mean, I would use myself as an example. My home is a monogamy home, right? We have about like 5 kids. But you can't tell me my daddy loves all of us equally. I'm not saying my daddy hates anyone, but you can't tell me he loves us all of us equally. He has a favorite in there.
Okay.
He has a favorite in there. We don't know who the favorite is. Well, to us, he treats us equally and perfectly, but he has a favorite in there. But we don't know who the favorite is. We don't want to ask it. That is the same way with polygamy, right? You have a lot of wives, a lot of children. What makes polygamy a bit dangerous for women is having a lot of women living together, being a woman myself. there's this sense of jealousy, right? As in a sense, even if it feels like the man is treating everyone equally, one person or one woman in there would feel like, now I'm being cheated. It's a woman nature. I'm not speaking against women, but it's a woman nature. I mean, we have found but in terms of monogamy, it's just you and the husband, right? And the kids needs at the end of the day. Let's say 2, 3, like how picks up for you, or like the mom actually intervene. It's more like in monogamy when a woman sees something, it's taken. Well, not entirely, but it's taken.
Right. So what I was actually getting at when I mentioned biology, like I was talking about like the fact that in a female you have a certain number of eggs that you produce, and in a man is endless seeds. So when I say our biology, does it favor monogamy or polygamy? Um, if a woman has a limited amount of eggs, then it is in her best interest to, like, if she wants to have all her children by one person, to have one man or one husband, right? But from a man's perspective, when he has endless seeds, he can also continue, like, to produce until his last day, right? So biologically, would you say it favors monogamy or polygamy? Is what I was getting at.
Oh, sorry. Then I'll say it favors polygamy.
Okay,
Favors polygamy.
so but to your point with what you were saying about jealousy between wives and things like that, it's the same thing with siblings. Like you said, when like does the parent have a favorite one? But in that situation, it's up to the man to be able to bring everybody together and show and bring that unity in the family, which is the same that a father would do for his children, that a husband would do for his wife or wives in this scenario. Excellent. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about is like in relationships, what is your viewpoint like when I say like, do women need female support or is support from their husband alone? Because in monogamy, they tend to seek support from their husband, but in polygamy, they have their sister wives that also give them support. So does a woman require support from other women or is her husband enough?
Hmm. For that question, that's very tricky. But I wouldn't say a woman actually needs support from the husband alone. The woman herself can support herself. I mean, let's say with it's just the wife and the husband. Unless you decide to be a housewife, even being a housewife is a job, right? It's a job on its own. But you have the support from your husband, right? I'm home, I cook, I clean, and all that stuff, right? That is like, and your husband is not really complaining and he's treating you right, you're good to go. But there are situations whereby you home, you work home like a housewife, like I said, it's a job on its own, and you're not being appreciated. In terms of that situation, that tells you how much the husband feels like you are entirely dependent on him, and that gives you a disadvantage. As a woman, you're not supposed to be solely dependent on a man or a husband. If you do so, you give the man the chance or the opportunity to treat you anyhow. In a modernized world right now, we give the opportunity to learn handiworks, which plays a big role. Finally, where a small shop where you can be selling stuffs.
Okay, so you're breaking up a little bit there. Just see if the network will favor us for this last part. Okay, you're back.
Okay, thank you. I hope you can hear me okay though.
Yes, I can.
So as I was
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, in this generational world, or let's say this era, more like modernized world, women are given the opportunity. We are treated equally. We have equality. We have equity. So in this term, you don't really need to depend on your husband solely, right? You're a housewife, like I said earlier. You cook, you clean. That means you're home most times. Why don't you just speak to your husband, let him support you with opening maybe a small shop for the start? You're home. You can be in the shop, you can sell, earn money. At the end of the day, you're contributing to the family, not just by being home and cooking and cleaning. In this world, money plays a very big role. So in marriage, it's not like in the olden times, like I said, when you go with polygamy, in the olden times, it played a very huge role in the sense like it focused on labor, and labor was something that was necessary and really needed, right? But in our generational term right now, money, or should I like, I would like money plays a very, very big role. You don't necessarily need to put, there's this saying that in the olden days they used to say hard work pays. But now they say not always hard work play like pays. You need to work smarter.
All right. So what about the women that enjoy being a housewife?
Yeah, in that sense, like I said earlier, you're home, you're being a housewife. Your husband ain't complaining. He's treating you well, you're being treated well, everything is okay. And if you feel like you don't really need, your husband is not complaining, he's not treating you bad, and you feel like just being home and cooking and cleaning is what you want, you're good. But the fact that some housewives do house chores, do the cleaning, cooking, and but they're still not being appreciated. That is where I made a point that that's when you, the woman, you need to come to the right sense to know that the man is making you aware you're feeling solely dependent on him. So you
Excellent.
would need to, that you also contribute into the family. And how do you do that? Try getting something to do. Like I said, there are a lot of handiworks out there nowadays. Now, women can do phone repairs, they can do engineering, mechanic stuffs. It's not just now jobs for men only. Like,
Okay, Titi. So, like, I appreciate everything that you've been saying. We had been cut off a little bit, and we're back now. If I'd like you to just give your final thoughts and your final message on what we've discussed today.
okay. Okay. So let's say what the final part of what I actually say right now is the fact, like I said earlier, each relationship is good. It has its advantages and disadvantages, but how it manages, how it's handled, and it depends on how each individual or how the individuals handles everything.
Right, right.
So I wouldn't say I support one relationship more than oh, it's very good. But how is it being managed? How is it being planned or how is it being worked with? That is what I can say with my conclusion. So I wouldn't support any of the relationships, neither would I say any of the relationships are bad. They're all good. But how is it being handled and how is it planned to be used?
Excellent, excellent. So it all comes down to how things are set up and how it benefits the people that are involved. Would that be
Exactly.
accurate? Excellent. Thank you so much, Titi, for coming on. I appreciate everything that you said, and hopefully in future we can have more talks about this kind of topic as well.
No problem. I'm really happy that you actually had me on the show. I was able to express myself more. I had a lot to say, so I
Excellent,
really
excellent.
appreciate
You're very welcome.
it.
Thank you very much, Titi.
Enjoy the rest of the day and bye bye for now.
You too.